It's March 25th, 2020. I will be reading Kitaro by Shigeru Mizuki. All of the artwork and storyline is all by Shigeru Mizuki. Yesterday I was just doing a little bit of research on the creator himself, I guess. I also ended up picking up Onward Towards Our Noble Deaths. That's in the mail right now. I read this book within about 5 or 6 years ago, all the way through, I guess. And now this time it's just kind of reviewing. When you apply the history to the context of the story, I don't know. It's I said that wrong, but it's pretty fascinating. Long story short, Shigeru was drafted into World War II. Prior to that, he was considered pretty gifted at drawing. Once again, he was caught in an explosion and lost his dominant left arm. So this guy is one-armed, and I guess that's probably what everyone he's a one-armed artist. And I honestly, I didn't know that before even fucking, doing the research. And a friend might have mentioned to me, but I just, and it makes, once again, it makes the, the whole thing even more enticing. And, a person, lacking an entire arm, but in a sense, as an artist, we always all tend to, an artist usually picks one fucking, arm over, unless they have to, in this case, he lost his left arm, the arm that he usually, that was it said a dominant arm, so, all this was drawn with his right fucking hand. That's crazy, man. It's crazy, he was left-handed, man. Once again, it's just fun fact, I guess. I don't really like to do too many facts. It'd be kind of nice to do that shit, but at the same time, you could probably just Google this shit yourself if you want, right? What I do is just gossip. I love the fucking gossip. Particularly, I don't ever really often have a time to gossip about something in its entirety, so that's where this podcast steps in. I don't rate or grade anything. I just talk about it. I already read about a couple of issues before. Last night before, setting it down, because sleeping patterns have been really fucking off. Besides the point, it was about 5 in the morning when I was I don't think I'll be able to finish it without wanting to pass out anyway. I wasn't particularly tired by 4 or 5, so it was just, but it's fucking anyway. So the first issue, I guess a little bit more context. This book was compiled by this company, I don't know, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, called Drawn in Quarterly, and it's just a compilation of I guess the best stories involving Kitaro. I think it said 1967 and 1969, I believe. Kitaro is about this yokai, and people always, I guess they were kind of oh, what is a yokai? And it's just it's as for labeling goes, a yokai is a yokai. You know what I mean? It can have various different forms that are similar to other beings like ghouls, goblins, spirits, souls, ghosts. I think there's even witches and all these other, animals, all these fucking, all these different kind of things. So a yokai is a yokai. Just take, how a ghost is a ghost, because I guess you could say a ghost is a spirit, but even ghosts and spirits, and so, all these things are fucking kind of different. If I think if you actually look up the definition, you actually look into it, spirit and soul are different. Some people often, put one in one, but someone's spirit, I imagine, I don't know, it's someone's spirit's their attitude, or their, once again, their energy, whereas their soul is kind of just like their nature, their personality. But that's besides the point. I mean, this is I'm not a master in any of this shit, so, and I could be totally wrong with what I just said, and I'm just kind of describing what I think these things are. But yokai, I mean, once again, yokai is just yokai. It's just spirits, even creatures, whatever. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of, I guess, to lead into the first comic that is offered, like the first little story, I guess, involves a French vampire. I guess the only reason why I'm saying this is because I mean context, I guess, is the word right now, but you need some context in this. Like, I mean, I guess I could say that Kitaro is this little spirit boy that has extra powers. But it's, I mean, I guess that's sort of true, but, it's kind of beyond that. He's not really even a spirit. He does, he's, with all the powers that he has, he's, there's so many things. So, I mean, in the context of the first issue, there's some vampire or some being that wants the blood of Kitaro. And, it's kind of weird, you gotta, I mean, for me anyway, I kind of like put myself into, I don't know, that, like, being okay with, okay, so there's this vampire, I mean, coincidentally it's French, or it has something totally to do with it being, this character being French, and being a vampire, coming to suck the blood of a yokai, or, the supernatural spirit, but specifically a Japanese supernatural spirit. Because he wants some kind of power or whatever the fuck. And once again, like, it can be kind of, for me, trying to get into the first issue was kind of hard to, I mean, just, it took a couple pages in to go, okay, I'm now into the world of Kitaro, I guess now. I accept some of the things for what they are. And the first issue, just, basically, like I said, a French vampire and his goon come to Japan to suck the blood of Kitaro, because I guess can get superpowers or some shit of that from that. I don't know. And Kitaro basically gives him a runaround, and I mean, honestly, it's kind of fucking dark. There's definitely some like, I mean, I guess a spoiler in this sense is the vampire and the goon die in a fire that is set by the fucking Kitaro. Well, actually, I mean, I think they start the fire, but he somehow is able to spread it. Just when you step outside of what this is supposed to be, this little cute little this cute little spirit dude, or this cute little yokai, just kind of like protecting. In this instance, I guess, himself. But there's some other moments where, he's protecting other people. In the second issue, or the second story, Kitaro has to save some kids from this guy who's playing guitar. Essentially, it's kind of like a pedophile kind of story, and, just stops the guy from stealing any more kids' souls. But, I mean, once again, kind of like, I mean, if you look in context, kind of like these are some, darker stories, but, and I mean, and like I said, like, in the end of the first story, the guys are, I can't remember, once again, I guess I have to, like, look at real quick. I don't know if he starts I mean, I know they start the fire in the, well, I mean, they start the fire, and I just don't remember. Oh, yeah, okay, then he fucking, like, a bunch of fucking wind or something, or the fire gets a lot bigger or something, but, using supernatural powers. Some of these situations that Kitaro gets into, like, just by some chance, he's got, like, some kind of magical power that gets him out of it. Which, once again, kind of, you gotta, like, accept things for what it is. It's kind of like Superman and his superpowers and whatnot. some people are just, they don't fucking, there's a breaking off point where you're just like, okay, I can't fucking accept this anymore. And you could really not, literally I could see someone just being not really into the whole idea, because it's just like, ooh, for what it is, it's cool as hell, but, if you don't look past any, if you don't look deeper, then, you might miss it, or maybe, it's just not your thing. But, just once again, just on second reflection, I guess, reading this over again already, I'm kind of like, laughing at some, like legitimately, like kind of like laughing to myself in some moments. And there's some crazier moments where, like, they're able to shoot up Kitaro, and like the only thing that's left of him is just his hand, but then the hand just says like fucks with them for the rest of the fucking storyline. And at one point, they're looking out the window, and the hand has a fucking knife in it, and like in the hand. So it's just, and once again, like if you were to like kind of just imagine if you were to look out to your fucking window, and there was just this like severed hand that just had a knife in it, and it was just moving around. It's kind of like, Evil Dead kind of shit. And, they even like nail the fucking hand to or they nail it down anyway to this plank. There's some, I guess there's some other things, but I don't want to totally give it all away, but there's like, definitely some like kind of even scary moments, like what's gonna, a severed hand just falling right on your fucking face, like, and if you're not really, once again, if you're just gonna just quickly scanning it for what it is, you might once again kind of just miss, like, just I guess like, what would actually be kind of, I don't know, maybe, Shigeru was just fucking like just drawing, he wasn't really thinking, it just came out this way, but subconsciously or not, it's there. And once again, if a hand was just if a severed hand just fell on my fucking face, that would be creepy as fuck. It'd be very disturbing. And once again, like now, is it, I don't know how deep it really goes, because once again, like the first story could be, actually about how, France is trying to steal Japanese spirit, or trying to like imitate it, and but in a way, sucking the blood of the sucking fresh blood, essentially, stealing, I don't know how deep it really goes into it. It probably does, honestly, but I'll, as I read on, I'll figure out more. Like the second story seems to be, guys who have long hair and play guitar have this enchanting ability, not necessarily to take people's souls per se, but to have them want to come in closer, I guess. I don't know, I guess Charles Manson would be a good example in this case. But he wasn't exactly, he didn't steal any kids' souls, I guess. But anyway. The last thing I want to say before I continue to read this, because once again, I'm only for 2 stories in, and I'm already pretty deep into this fucking podcast. All right. Shigeru, like I said, he was in World War II. He lost his fucking arm, but even more than that, like the reason why I kind of got onward towards our noble deaths. It just kind of is this statement. This guy was actually, because of what happened, it would be a dishonor to come back home, so he was supposed to pretty much die on the battlefield, and he basically said fuck that. And that story, onward towards our noble deaths, is kind of that critical statement about how he fucking feels about it all. So, I don't know, with someone who's had to go through so much trauma, seeing, friends and comrades, fellow soldiers, whatever you want to fucking say, die brutally or slowly, having to suffer once again, like, massive trauma and pain of oneself, I mean, having to take the lives, probably. I mean, who knows how many people he killed himself? I don't know that he had to kill. I mean, probably didn't kill. I'm sure he didn't kill 0 people. I could be wrong. So I don't know. I think if you have that kind of trauma or that kind of history or that kind of experience, you probably have some kind of level of gallows humor. And also you probably want to hope that, because I imagine some of, once again, his friends and fellow soldiers, comrades, whatever the fuck you want to say, probably were good, decent people. And I'm sure that, fighting and killing, opposing people, I'm sure some of them were probably good people. And it really probably just made you think, like, well, if I were to be in that shoes, it probably would make me think, like, like, once again, like, if, say, Charles, my friend Charles, he fucking died in the fucking, during fucking some battle. I would want to hope that there's some kind of soul or spirit or afterlife that Charles, or we'll say Miriam. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. But you just want to hope that there's some kind of good afterlife for them, or if even questioning, like, will they come back to haunt the lands, or the wherever the fuck, because they died before their time, if that makes sense. I mean, some people, I guess you could say, like, that was their time, but others can suggest, they were still young and very vital and had a lot of vitality, or vitality. A lot of vigor left, and it's just taken out just by chance, essentially, probability. Anyway, so I imagine, like, I imagine, like, I don't know, you have to, because just I guess in terms of, like, yokai and stuff, and just, like, because once again, like, yokai are kind of like ghouls and goblins, demons, spirits, and just once again, like, is this a way of being able to vent for those that had been lost? So, and I guess one other thing that I guess one last thing that was kind of clever, I guess, is for Kitaro, he's this little, I don't forget what exactly they call it. He's like a part of, like, the ghost tribe or something, like the last surviving member of the ghost tribe or something. But he's got a father who, he's sort of alive. He's just an eyeball left. But he's there to keep an eye on Kitaro. So once again, I cheeky kind of stuff, but so there's there's cheeky moments, but, like, at the same time though, like, if you step out of the, this is, like, once again, it's supposed to be for kids too, like, and you could totally see that. Like, personally, I got fucking a first draft or a rough draft, a couple rough drafts, not just one. I got a couple of rough drafts for some comic book or graphic novel ideas. And, when I look at this, someone who made all of this, all of the artwork themselves, and you can definitely see at some moments where there's, like, hella fucking detail. And some of the monsters look so fucking beautiful. I'll probably mention when I'm fucking going through it. But, at the same time, some of these characters are very simplistic, but there's still some kind of novelty to them. I don't know. Because they're clearly not, it's very cartoony. It's not as, compared to, like, some of the detailing work of the environment that he can draw sometimes. Yeah, it's just interesting. I don't know. Like, I would like to draw like this, but, like, I don't know. I would have to draw, like, a story, something, like, it would have to, like, be fitting to this kind of style, because this is, once again, like, there's a childlike nature to the characters being drawn and whatnot, being very simplistically drawn, but they're still complex. There's a certain complexity to it, and once again, like, I don't want to knock Shigeru Mizuki by any means, because this guy, in the same book, you can see the details he can put into his artwork. So I mean, maybe it's just because it's easier that way, it just gets shit done faster. I'm not totally sure. And maybe, you know, this is just how he likes it. I mean, and once again, once again, I didn't know how to play the drums about 5 years ago. Now I do. And, you know, I got a pretty decent knowledge on drawing and stuff. It's just about, you know, getting into that fucking routine and that pattern. But if I were to get to that point, the rough drafts that I have right now, I definitely wouldn't want to be this cartoonish. But if I ever drew something that merited, you know, for children, I guess. But like, that's the thing though, it's like definitely have to be like for children. Like, I wouldn't want to, because I know I'm fucking going rambling, but what is the messages being told, and like, I don't know, like, try not to like manipulate a child's fucking mind by any means. And I would say the second story definitely, I mean, it definitely seems to be good, you know, stay away from fucking strangers and whatnot, and all that stuff. So there's good messages in this. But, you know, obviously, I do think that, you know, every fucking artist will always throw their opinion or their, you know, their point of view into, you know, their work. And once again, like with the first story, once again, is Shigeru Mizuki commenting on French, or I know France and, you know, French. I don't know. I mean, would it be? Is it French jealousy, envy, or? I mean, because once again, you're saying it's. I mean, once again, like you could. I guess you could have picked any. I mean, once again, on the other side, like, you know, I mean, could have picked anywhere. Could have been a German. Could have been fucking this or that. But like, you know, a vampire sucks the blood, you know, of the living or whatnot. I guess I have to like look at the content of what he. Hold on one second. Alright, so I think literally the only reason why I guess I want to find his fucking real name. La Sienne, or La Sienne. That's the French vampire's name, La Sienne, or La Sienne, Seine, La Sienne, or La Sienne. But I guess the only reason why he's here is because Kitaro possesses the power to see his true form. And I guess he said, due to many advances in blood-sucking technology, he can travel among mortals unnoticed. He completely blends in. But once again, Kitaro can see his true form, so he can see through, I guess, the vampire, or the French vampire's demeanor. And once again, how deep does this go? Is it something that's just a cute little thing, just some little vampire coming to want to, you know, take out fucking Kitaro? Even though, once again, this is some rather darker stuff, because they literally shoot Kitaro. I mean, I can imagine why, and it's crazy, man. I don't know. Anyway, I gotta start fucking reading this fucking comic more. Another fun fact, Shigeru Mizuki contracted malaria during his service in World War II in the Japanese army. One more example of Kitaro. He's pretty good-natured. When he does return the soul to the boy in the second story, the father gives him some kind of token, or, you know, some kind of reward for Kitaro, and he's like, "Nah, I don't need it." He says, "No need, I only fight yokai so that you humans can be a little happier." So, and I guess, I didn't even fucking know that, but, the second story, I guess he was just fighting against a yokai. So, it did mention on Wikipedia and whatnot that, you know, there's, you know, yokai world and the human world, and, Kitaro's trying to, I guess, make amends, well, not make amends, but, you know, bring a bridge to the two worlds, essentially. And I guess sometimes that means beating the shit out of other yokais. But sometimes you gotta beat the shit out of... Oh, and I guess, I don't know, would Lucien, is he technically a yokai as well, or is he, you know, straight up just a vampire? I'm not sure. The third story is a couple of criminals going on a bus to hell. See, like, once again, like, this is supposed to be for fucking children once again, man. And, I mean, honestly, man, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, this is not, if I was a kid, this is probably not shit that I'd be reading because, they'd be like, you shouldn't be reading this shit. But, hey, man, I mean, this fucking can grow some hair on your balls. There's no fucking doubt about that. Or, fucking, hair on your clam. It'd be fucking hilarious if this actually wasn't for kids and I kept saying, and this is for fucking kids. Another scene, I mean, it's still in the same scene, like the two criminals are on the bus. Moments before, they were just shooting at some crows, because they were just cawing. And while on the bus, he looks to, over on another seat, and there's just two dead fucking crows. He's like, is that the crow I shot earlier? That's, what's gonna just fucking, what's gonna, out of context, just like, what the fuck? Why the fuck would you take a bus ride to hell? The guy's going, the windows are stuck, the doors won't open either. I mean, what the fuck? No shit. I guess I also want to mention there's like this crystal. I mean, this is for the third story. And the criminals are looking into it and they're just seeing this like other world, which I imagine is probably the world of yokai. So while I can see that world from here through this rock, they can see this world from their rock. But where is this mysterious world I'm seeing? I guess it's a transistor TV, so says Kitaro. For context, I mean, I didn't realize this myself, but I guess one of the criminals stayed back, and the other criminal, there's one criminal on a bus ride to hell, and another criminal just chilling in Kitaro's place, just looking at the fucking transistor TV, which is this crystal rock that when you look into it, shows you another world. I think Kitaro was able to have the one criminal that was looking at the transistor TV or the crystal rock, was able to get him to the other world now. I mean, once again, Kitaro's got a fuck ton of superpowers. I mean, he can apparently look like he becomes invisible, but he actually kind of like becomes camouflage. And then also he got shot up by a fucking gun, but like lived, essentially his hand did all the dirty work for him, and then just kind of walked on back to his his body, whereas and I'm not even like it's not like his body, he was just chilling without a hand for a couple hours until the hand decided to, didn't decide, but just finished up the fucking deed and then came back home. So just he's got a fuck ton of powers, man. Alright, so in the crystal rock was hell, and he was able to, I mean, it is, kind of reminds me of like, some Mickey Mouse kind of shit. Like, there was only one ticket, but he ended up having both the guys go. Oh, and the other guy, I know it's kind of weird. And then Kitaro just kind of vanished. And I guess the ticket to hell was a one-way ticket, not a round ticket. So now they're just stuck in hell. And, I guess the whole fucking storyline or the message is, crooks are, they're just gonna keep fucking doing criminal acts and eventually find themselves, on a one-way road to hell. I guess that's the message. So the next story is called The Cat Master, and, they show Kitaro, like, frightened by this, like, giant, bug-eyed, fucking hairy-ass monster. And once again, there's a lot of detail put into this fucking monster. And then once again, Kitaro is kind of drawn pretty simple or minimal. But, it would look like almost like he would stand out in a way, but for some reason it still just kind of meshes all together really well. So the fourth story has a bunch of cats attacking this village, but the village was trying to build construction that crossed into cat territory, I guess, causing all of this. So now cats are, like, I guess, ruling this village. So it's kind of just topsy-turvy. I think it's kind of making some comments. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe it's just literally this quirky little fucking story about interfering in another person's territory and having they come and attack, and in fact if they are stronger, they will rule over you. Oh Jesus, this is actually some crazy shit, man. And I was like, I wonder if I can even figure this out. So it definitely has some war vibes now that I'm thinking about it. So if you cross into other people's territory, I mean, basically, they probably needed that land because they're just growing as a village or whatever, and they needed more land. And they could potentially go maybe somewhere else, but Kitaro mentions that some of the other land is just swamp and it's just bottomless. You're just, if you go there, you're just going to starve to death. And it was saying that half the village ended up running away, or leaving the village after the cats came, but they had nowhere else to go, so they had to come back. So once again, this is it's really, it's teaching complex, or not, maybe not, I mean, I guess it's teaching, but it's showing complex scenarios or situations that happen in real life, but then putting in these I guess making it a little bit cuter, I guess, for then kids to understand, making it a little bit simpler to digest. And once again, the whole cats ruling, I feel like that's just kind of silly in a way, but maybe there's more to it than that. I think that was pretty much all I wanted to say. There's probably one more thing I wanted to say, but I forgot. Kitaro says, "This is idiotic. We're prisoners. How can you people put up with this?" And the kid says, "Because we're poor. We have nowhere else to go." So once again, this definitely, I believe, is probably making some social commentary. And I guess one other thing I wanted to mention is, Kitaro, he's missing his fucking left eye. And I don't know, because I from what I read, this is all these yokai and whatnot were written kind of beforehand, and Shigeru was kind of asked, or he was suggested to kind of update these stories. And so I don't know if this Kitaro character was always missing a left eye, or maybe, I don't know if he could really, maybe he related with this character in a way, but he's missing a pretty vital organ, a fucking eyeball, man. Missing an eyeball, I mean, in one sense, would definitely hinder one's own sight, but also kind of suggest this person or this character or whatever is I guess the average or normal human being has 2 eyeballs, 2 arms, 2 legs, etc., etc. So it's just kind of exposing that the idea of I guess incompleteness, and well, not even necessarily incompleteness, but I guess it could be deformities, or an accident or an injury. An injury could be something as small as leaving just no more than a scar, and or even more severe than losing a limb or an organ. And this is kind of random, but the artwork for Kitaro, or I guess Calvin and Hobbes, reminds me of the artwork of Kitaro, if that makes sense, because Kitaro, I guess, came first, I believe. I could be wrong, but anyway. Another power, well, I don't know if this is exactly a power, but Kitaro conveniently had some fleas on his body that he ordered them to go and find this cat hill where all the cats are. And while he's sleeping, the fleas end up finding the cat hill and then wake up, I guess, Kitaro's dad. I can't remember that. I gotta look up the dad's name, I guess. But yeah, and it's just fucking weird, but at the same time though, it's kind of interesting. Kind of developing this character's powers, and just how powerful is this character? And it's just it's just clearly it's just fucking very powerful, just one power after another, or just fucking connections, or in this case he just happens to fucking know some fleas that are really good at scouting. I guess to be more specific, scouting locations. Alright, so now Kitaro is fighting a giant panther and like a fuck ton of cats. Basically all by himself. I mean, his dad I think is there, but I don't think his dad can really fucking help right now. How do you take out a cat army? A flea army. It gets fucking deeper. There's a 1200-year-old hermit that's been able to put his spirit, I think, or soul, his soul into... Hold on a second. My soul enters the cats, allowing me to use them to protect my body from rats and bugs. So I guess he was able to discover the secret of immortality. He succeeded in separating soul and body while still alive, and the cats help him, I guess keep him alive. But he says, my body will age and decay if used too often, and so my soul only returns when my body is in danger. I am the one they call Neko Senin. That's some trippy shit. Just to clarify, Neko Senin, or Senin, Senin, Senin. Anyway, a new fucking thing that I didn't know that Kitaro has is he can shoot pins from the back of his fucking... Well, from his back. He can shoot pins from his back. Like a porcupine, but porcupines I don't think can shoot their needles or pins or whatever. Kitaro can shapeshift. Dude, Kitaro I guess can also draw, and he can draw on a rock, and he's like, you can draw on a thing like that? And he's like, pretty sure I can. He's like, oh, do you mind if I ask, say, 74 questions while I draw? Jesus. And he's just asking, like, fucking, like, what's your favorite color, and, favorite midday snack between lunch and dinner. And it says, like, after poking out 74 points, Kitaro connected the dots with a fierce intensity. It's fucking dope, dude. I guess for context, Neko Senin, or Senin, the 1200-year-old hermit, was fighting Kitaro. Kitaro kicked his ass, so then the hermit fell asleep. But I guess then controlled the kid that Kitaro had met, and with those 74 questions was able to put the hermit or Neko Seinen's true face on the rock, and then he throws it down a well. That's some trip, man. What the fuck? This is some fucking weird ass shit. But it's weird, but it's like just like, I guess, neurotic. To clarify, it's Neko Senen's true face on the rock, but Kitaro was able to put Neko's soul in there with his soul binding power, and then the dad asked the dad, he asked, are there any fucking abandoned wells around here? And they just fucking, like I said, threw the fucking rock down the well. And he said, Neko Senen might be able to move from one living thing to another, but now that he's in this stone, he won't be able to get out again. That's fucked up. Definitely making commentary on, like, sages or, people, they're just looking for immortality, and just like kind of like asking the question of why. But who doesn't want to? I mean, it's who doesn't want to fucking die? But I don't know. I guess Kitaro is one reason why. The other side of the fucking, that other world, I guess. It says Kitaro discreetly handles problems that people must never know the causes of, which kind of is confusing to think about. But he handles the problems that essentially no one else really can deal with, I guess. It's fucking, I don't know, man. It's up my alley, that's for fucking sure. The next story is called Monster Night Game, and just looking at the fucking little, I guess the cover to it. I mean, once again, the artwork, it's just these scary ass looking fucking monsters in the background, and it's got like multiple eyes and shit. But then you got like simple fucking minimal Kitaro and some humans. and Monster Night Game. That just looks fucking. This just looks cool as fuck already. The artwork reminds me of the Flintstones. It's got that Hanna-Barbera kind of artwork. It reminds me even like some Charlie Brown kind of stuff. But the artwork, I mean, right now, like I stopped at Kitaro's. Well, okay, for the baseball story. One of the this kid that finds Kitaro's baseball bat. I guess at the graveyard, because that's what Kitaro said he left it. Hold on. Hey, I just came for my bat. I left it in the graveyard. Yeah. So the kid found it and he was using it for baseball, and he kept on getting home runs. And whenever he prayed, he said whenever he prayed for a home run, he got a home run. Whenever he prayed for a grounder, he'd get a grounder. And so they're getting recognition as an amazing Japanese baseball team, but it's only because of this baseball bat. Otherwise, they're just some other average team, if they are even average. I don't know. But with the baseball bat, they're fucking. They win all their It says they won 10 games. So Kitaro's saying, I want my baseball bat back, and the kid's like, you have to fucking take it from my cold dead hands, and he's like, that can be rearranged, or that can be arranged, essentially. He says that is an option if you want it so badly. How about playing for it tomorrow night? And he said, he says, yes, against my team. If you win, you keep the bat, but if you lose, you're on your way to the other side. So if these kids fucking lose, they they fucking die. And when they kind of show all of the, I guess Kitaro's teammates, I don't know, this just once again reminds me of some like Charlie Brown kind of stuff, but like just, I don't know, it's just very. If you ever watch Cromartie High, or even like read the manga, it just kind of reminds me of that. I mean, that was obviously made more recently than this, but just kind of reminds me of that kind of stuff, man. It's creepy, it's spooky, it's kooky, and it's just it's fun all around, man. So, Kitaro's the pitcher for his team, and the kids, the opposing team, are going like, that's weird, right? It looks like the ball is running away from the bat, and the kids they just keep on swinging, and they're striking out. Kitaro's got these, I guess. He has a ball that avoids bats, so I mean they have no chance. Essentially, the kids are screwed. I mean the ball is just swimming around the baseball bat. So I think there's a couple messages for the baseball story. One, you can't hope to have some kind of magical item that's gonna like save your career, save your ass, essentially. The only thing that could save your ass is yourself. You just gotta, be prepared and be the best that you possibly can. Because I mean, like in this case, what happens if you have the most amazing baseball bat that's gonna hit whatever the fuck. If it can hit the ball, it'll fucking get you a home run. It'll give you a point, or it'll give you whatever the fuck you want. But if you have a baseball that can completely avoid that bat. You know what I mean? Then you're kind of, I guess the game kind of you're just kind of screwed. I mean, I guess in a sense, what happens when the opposing force has a better item or better equipment than you? Then you're kind of just, you're outmatched. So I think this was, I think it was kind of talking about that kind of stuff, but it was also even talking about like even in like a war. I think this is even kind of like messaging war in a sense, because these kids are just kind of accepting their fate. It's 6-0. They're gonna fucking basically die. They're they were essentially they had an item that they felt that made them invincible, made them feel like they were invincible, but when they were actually put into the game or put into the scenario, and once again, the opposing force had better equipment, that they were just overpowered, and there was nothing they can do about it. So this is, I mean, once again, I could be wrong. This could just have been just some little baseball game, and they're just. But I definitely have a feeling there's so much more going on in these pages. You just gotta fucking look at it, and once again, like I don't even feel like I even have all the information, but it's, I don't know, man, it's fucking intriguing as fuck. And once again, I read this about 5 or 6 years ago, and I kind of just like, it was just basically, let's just fucking read it and just kind of get through it, essentially. But I'm fucking like digesting this motherfucker right now. It's so tongue-in-cheek at the same time, man. So, the game went on too late. They started at 3 a.m. Dawn comes, the sunlight is out, and all the monsters, or basically all of Kitaro's teammates, can't handle the sunlight, so they gotta peace out. So Kitaro says, he's like, what do you say we call the game? On one condition. I take the bat, you guys get to keep your lives. How about it? They kind of, agree to it, essentially. And, they kind of just, hurry, let's go. Let's just fucking run away. Let's, be happy that, they get to live after all. But it's funny, like the last 2 panels, it says, the next day, the graveyard was silent and empty, as if nothing had ever happened. And it's funny that it's being played at a graveyard, too. I mean, I don't think it's just being funny. I mean, it's very coincidental. And I don't think it's just coincidental. I think it's, on purpose. I mean, it's gotta, some of this, because, because once again, imagine, this game, this baseball game, imagine if it were a battle, or a war even. The war or the battle is over. The game is over. But, life goes on. Life still goes on. And it says, once again, the next day, the graveyard was silent and empty, as if nothing had ever happened. Meaning that, once when war and battle is over, it's fucking over. Once again, life just, like I said, life just goes on. It doesn't. It was so intense, and, fucking lives were at stake. And after all is said and done and finished, life goes on. And it's being played at a graveyard, and what's in a graveyard? A bunch of fucking bodies, but a bunch of people that have moved on. And once again, they war, battle, or even a game, very intense, a lot at stake, a lot of loss, a lot of potential casualty, metaphorical casualty, if you're referring to baseball games. And, victory as well. But, like I said, life goes on. So after the baseball story is a story called Suiko, which kind of sounds like Suicune, from Pokemon. And, once again, some of this mythology, for the yokai is fucking really interesting as hell. They tell you there's a glossary in the back of this book kind of explaining some of it. In the beginning of this story, there's some children that find this clay jar, and they break it open, and they start drinking from it, which, don't get me wrong, it's kind of really a fucking stupid ass idea to do, but kids are really fucking dumb. I've probably done something stupid like this. It's just you would never expect kids to just start drinking from a fucking jar they found in the ground. But they do, and, kid starts acting fucking strange. And I guess it's because there's a yokai, in that jar that they were drinking that can control, and I think manipulate children, or people that drink it anyway. That drink them, which I guess, they are the water. Inside that jar. The yokai I'm referring to. It's called a Suiko. Just once again, just for context. Kitaro explains to the parents that the kid drank, or the kid is possessed by a Suiko water tiger. And I guess once again, it looks like water, but it's not. It's a creature. Called the Suiko, I guess. Once again, different. It's a yokai. So the Suiko water tiger is possessing the child to go and dig up because I guess the Suiko is a male in this case. It's trying to dig up the female, and then they want to multiply, and take over. I guess get all the children all over Japan, and possess them. I guess, and I guess these children die eventually from the possession. To get the yokai, the Suiko, out of the kid's body, they have to drown the child. They have to fucking drown the fucking child. And then Kitaro brings him back to life with CPR, but still. There are a couple of moments showing Kitaro having a good nature. If I didn't mention before, he declines a reward that a father gives, that is offering to Kitaro for saving his child, but he declines it. Kind of like, bridging the gap between yokai world and human world. He's just trying to keep things at peace, and he doesn't necessarily even need it. He's kind of fucking dead. What the fuck does he need it for? In this case, there's now the couple are just kind of like yelling at each other, arguing, and Kitaro's like, please, this isn't the time for that. Basically going like, it's not, instead of, fucking yelling at each other and blaming each other, just, be calm and, fucking worry about the present moment, what you can do about it now, and then, you could yell at each other later or something like that. So I mean, I had to kind of read it a couple of times, or at least to really, because the Suiko and Kitaro, I think, were fighting to death, and Kitaro picked the winter. And now the message, I mean, I think there's a couple messages like, A, don't just go around drinking shit from a fucking jar in the ground that you find. Which I guess you could even, take it for just don't eat any random food that you find. I mean, could even be natural berries or whatever, potentially. I don't know. I could be stretching it there. But I think this also might have to do with maybe disease or illness. Because Kitaro ends up, like I said, fighting the Suiko or the yokai, and during the winter, you're most likely to get sick during that time. I mean, the whole sleepwalk. I mean, the child was sleepwalking while he was the actual child that was controlled originally in the story is sleepwalking and kind of trying to dig up this other clay jar essentially, and going now to Kitaro and the Suiko fighting. If Kitaro was a child and he ended up getting controlled by the Suiko, which Kitaro ends up happening to him, the child would have froze to death. But Kitaro is a yokai. Well, I mean, that's first and foremost, he's a yokai. But he says or thinks to himself, I'm the son of a ghost. My body can't feel the cold. It doesn't bother me a bit. And once again, if it was a child, it would have froze to death. So, the Suiko is kind of like it's sort of like water. And right now, I guess in the winter, it was kind of going off as a mist form. But after hours of sitting in Kitaro's body, I guess froze. He then goes to the family and tells them to break the Suiko into pieces, the frozen Suiko into pieces, and put it back into the jar and dig it back up, or bury it again. The next story deals with this yokai that's turning a villagers into red trees. Specifically, I guess they are. Hold on. Terrible, or a vampire tree, and I guess it sucks the blood. Hold on. You'll become a red tree just like the others. Soon it will take over your body. It nourishes itself on your blood and quickly grows larger. Which I think this potentially, because Kitaro's literally got a sprout coming out of his arm, like a little red tree coming out of his left arm. He's trying to pull it out, but he can't. I think this is kind of has to do with cancer now. I could be wrong, but I mean, the red tree thing is metaphorical. I don't know. I mean, you eventually find yourself, stuck in the ground. So, from this disease that's, sucking life from your body, essentially. I'm just looking this up. Hopefully I remember. The father's name, Kitaro's father's name is Madama Oyahi. Oyahi. Oyaji. But Madama. While Kitaro's turned into a tree, in which I still think that might have to do with the cancer, potentially. I mean, for all I know, by the end of the story, they all turn back to fucking, normal villagers again, which is probably what will happen. But there are a bunch of like Canadian and European airlines that are crashing because of this yokai that's also turning people into trees. So I mean, I'm not too I'm not sure what that might be in reference to. I mean, it's they said Canadian, so I mean, once again, I don't think Canadian is necessarily a group that Japanese people hated. I mean, I don't even think they necessarily hated the French people. I mean, once again, I don't know. The connotation could have been just picking a fucking a nation or a country. So I'm just gonna read on. For context, Kitaro is able to turn himself into a fruit. I mean, I think it might be a giant peach, but he's able to transform his body from that tree into the fruit, and he cracks out of the peach, and he's good old Kitaro again. So now he's got to deal with that yokai that's fucking up everything. I guess this yokai's name is Kiyu Ketsuki. And it does exactly what I've already said it does. Plants seeds in human bodies and feeds off their blood. I guess it's a pun for vampire. I guess Kitaro can store a charge in his body like an electric eel, and then release it to knock out his opponents. When he's in water anyway. And then with the creature being unconscious, Kitaro steals its vampire tree seeds and plants them into the Kyuketsuki itself, which then turns into a fucking tree, and that solves that. So I mean, like I said, Kitaro's a fucking very powerful mythological being, creature, ghost, yokai, whatever the fuck you want to call him. I bet Kitaro could kick Superman's ass. So I guess this yokai, whenever an airliner ran into this yokai during flight, the pilot would become hypnotized and would lose control of the plane, and then that's why it would crash. I mean, the only thing I could think of, that's a natural thing would be if, the pilot would fall asleep, or fucking would have a heart attack or something like that. Yeah, I mean once again, I get that. I'm not totally sure what that metaphor or message is. What it could be. Maybe it could be as simple as that. Pilots falling asleep, but or the yokai is just simply there could be good and bad yokai, like Kitaro's a good yokai, and this Kyuketsuki is a bad yokai, which Kitaro's been fighting a number of bad yokai in this book so far. But this yokai could be like a metaphor, a representation of the evils of war, and how they would, it could just, kind of like in a Godzilla kind of fashion. This this attitude, this energy, this I don't know, it's a lot easier to say that it's just some kind of evil being, this evil spirit or whatever that's fucking causing all these atrocities to happen. But in reality, it's often, human beings that are causing them. It's almost like we hope and we want it to be some kind of outside force that's causing all of these problems, and especially peaceful people. Peaceful people that aren't doing anything. They're just on a fucking airplane or whatever, but they're a casualty to potentially of war, or something greater than them, I guess. Ghost Train so far, I think the message is, it's got like two guys that claim that they're open-minded, but they, refuse to accept the existence of ghosts and monsters and spirits or whatever. Basically, the other world, and kind of having a crash course and finding out that, well, I guess in this, this storyline that, this is an actual potential reality, and that they need to open their minds a little bit more. I think on a bigger message, once again, you got two guys that are saying they're open-minded or whatever, but they also attacked, one guy hit Kitaro on the head and gave him a giant bump on his head, and Kitaro's like, well, I'm going to give you guys equal-sized bumps on your heads, and which ends up happening. But I think it, kind of the bigger message, just like your perspective or your point of view is not always right, and especially that you shouldn't have, like, even if hypothetically it is right, which in this case it's not right, I guess. Based on what Kitaro's saying, he exists in this world, so they're wrong. But they're wrong. Yet even if they're wrong, they believe so justly that in their opinions or their views or their beliefs, they're just so confident in something that they don't even know. The next story is called the Yokai War, which is basically just Japanese yokai against Western yokai. Some Western yokai would be like a werewolf, Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, a witch, just to name a few. It's definitely, metaphors and, messages dealing with war in general. Different yokai from both sides lose their lives. Yeah, and they're just kind of, I think it's just a portrayal of that, but, they're using monsters instead. And once again, it's just like a kookiness to it, and it's, kind of like this like adventure thing, but, I guess if you were to look deeper, you could probably see that, there's some darker elements at play, I guess. Kitaro lost his vest, or it was taken from him by one of his friends. Let me just find the fucking dude's name. Hold on one second. Nezumi Otoko, who's half yokai, half human. But he's kind of, I guess, on the Western yokai side right now. But just the vest that he lost, that Kitaro lost, I guess had a lot of power. Had all the powers that that he has. I guess that are given to him were all from that vest that he was wearing. Which that vest contained spirit hairs, which I guess are, hairs of from previous yokai that have died in their family. So that's a lot of fucking spirit hairs to make a little giant entire vest for fucking Kitaro. And the father, Medema, Medam, he said, if we don't get that vest back, it'll be a slap in the face to our ancestors. So, Kitaro, I guess, can be viewed as, if he's youthful, he's like the, I guess he amounts to everything that's come before him. And for him to lose would be, a great shame. Which, once again, I think refers to, if your side loses, all of the work that your ancestors worked for will, amount to essentially nothing. hypothetically, or totally. So to end the yokai war, with the aid of the knowledge and history, experience that previous ancestors had to go through, and extended on to the next generation, that is what will ultimately prove to win a war. Clearly, obviously, power, and some crazy stuff happened. I guess the Brigadoon bubble, which is this like timeless, I guess, void per se. They gave an example. Hold on. 1 second. Named after the folkloric Scottish village that appears for only one day every 100 years, the Brigadoon effect refers to any location that is unstuck in time. Medema is saying, it's rare once every 1,000 years or so, and people long ago lived in fear of it. Even now, its mystery has not been unraveled. The one kid that was asking for help in the first place. The reason why Kitaro helped in the yokai war in the first place. The kid's asking, why were we the only ones who knew about it? How come others couldn't tell what was happening here? And Medema is saying only those directly affected can see what's happening. Outsiders can't see a thing. It happened to one of our ancestors once. They said that hair right there, 3,000 years ago, he fought the Brigadoon. He told us all we needed to know to win. So once again, the knowledge and past experiences that, and the history of past society or ancestors had to go through, once again being extended onto the next generation to help aid them in winning the war, or winning a war. It is kind of confusing still. A lot of yokai died during this storyline, or were left unconscious. I think honestly a lot of them were killed. I think it was once again to symbolize war. Clearly it was the yokai war. But a lot of just a bunch of yokai that were on the island. The reason why once again Kitaro was brought to the island was to get the yokai off that island, the western yokai. And then, like I said, there was that the Brigadoon effect, that just suddenly, the entire island was caught on fire, and that's what happened. So then there was a Brigadoon effect. I don't know. I'm not sure what the fuck that means. And once again, I guess it's a mystery that has yet to been unraveled, I guess. What I really think it is just basically like what happens when, the casualties of war is just so immense and so great that eventually just gets to a point where everyone's just like, all right, I don't want to fucking be in war anymore, and let's just move on to something else. Let's move on elsewhere. I think the Brigadoon effect might even be kind of symbolizing how war kind of just happens every 100 years, every 1,000, just kind of, I don't know, just an idea, I guess. Also, part of the reason why Kitaro and his other Japanese yokai got screwed over is because his Nezumi Atoko, Adoko, or Otoko, I don't know. Kitaro's friend that ended up kind of two-timing Kitaro, and it kind of really screwed him over. So I guess, like, in a sense of war, getting too timed by your own fucking teammates can really fucking screw you over. I mean, that's a pretty Captain Obvious statement, but I think it just should be said. Creature from the Deep story is kind of talking about evolution rather than creationism. The other message that I'm seeing for Creature from the Deep, there's a scientist, that doesn't believe in superstitious nonsense. And he's obviously going on a fucking journey or an expedition with Kitaro, so you're gonna probably see, or I'm probably gonna be reading a similar vibe as the Ghost Train. Not necessarily that I don't think the scientist is gonna, like, go to hell or something like that. I don't think it's gonna be like that. For this story, Kitaro and the scientists are going to New Guinea, which I believe this is where Shigeru Mizuki, he was sent for World War II. Some of the dialogue is saying, like, someone's saying, I imagine the scientist is saying, there's not even a path, this terrain is rough. Some of their phrasing, we'll set up camp here tonight, you're on latrine duty, you two are on water detail. So, I mean, it definitely sounds like, I mean, I did Boy Scouts myself, so it definitely, reminds me of military efforts. Now, another message that could potentially be here is, you got the Zeuglodon, Zeuglodon, I think. Hold on one second, let's only confirm. Zeuglodon. Yeah, I think I said that right. Zeuglodon. I think it might refer more than just the whole evolution thing. I think it might refer to or be a metaphor for war. And they're just, I don't know. I mean, they're trying to get a blood sample from it, so. And then that just sounds like, some science stuff. But some of the team that was sent out for the expedition, some of the members have died. And they have to bring back this vital, the precious blood is the key to unraveling the mystery of the creature's immortality, and they want to bring it back to Japan. So they want this answer on how to, be immortal, essentially, which would then make them essentially invincible. And you'd want the blood sample from this creature, and this creature's this, like, giant, ravaging, aggressive beast that, can... So, I mean, I think there's something to it. I'm probably not saying it totally correct, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just once again stretching. Now, the scientist was thinking to himself, if he can bring the blood sample home, he can take all the glory for himself. But then he just starts shouting at Kitaro, to hand over the blood sample. And Kitaro's like, I can't do that. He's like, Kitaro, you just want all the glory for yourself, don't you? I know your type. And, he knows why. He knows the type because he is the fucking type. Kitaro's like, I'm not like that. Another thing I'll mention is, now this is during this story, Creature from the Deep, Kitaro just got hit with a poison arrow, and it's not the first time, definitely probably won't be the last time Kitaro or any of his characters gets harmed or injured severely, or even just fucking just injured by any means, and it probably has something to do with, once again, his experiences with war in general. Just and the casualties, just, you're not gonna look normal if you go through this kind of shit. There's a chance that whether through psychological, mental, could be physical, you're gonna be fucked up or get fucked up. It is funny for someone who doesn't believe in superstition to use something like salamandra dust to weaken or suppress Kitaro's powers. It's, just fucking double standards, hypocritical kind of shit. Don't believe in it, but then you use it to, use the similar, use the methods that are dealt with that kind of lore to, solve a problem or get your answer. Denying the existence of something even though you use the thing that you're denying that exists. Yeah, alright, so more evidence to prove, because now Kitaro, he's like, he says, "It's me, your old pal, Kitaro." And he's like, "Kitaro?" And he's like, "The mix of poison from the Islanders' darts and your salamandra dust really messed up my face." Which, a lot of the chemicals and the chemical warfare the chemical warfare that was being used during the war, would result in this kind of similar physical ailment, I guess. Or physical scarring. Damn, son, the dialogue is powerful sometimes. So the scientist is just kind of thinking to himself, well, it looks like I'm back to square one. Not only can I not take all the credit for the blood, but Kitaro might tell everyone what happened in New Guinea. I'm not safe as long as he's alive. If the salamandra dust won't kill him, then I need a new plan. So just imagine, instead of the scientist, you put it in that kind of perspective in the eyes of, Japanese officials, in that whole kind of mentality that, if you come back home from war, you're dishonoring, your country and your ancestry and whatnot. So that's why you should, kind of just, go down in a blaze of glory of sorts, which is really fucked up. So if you put the perspective of the scientist into a Japanese official, wanting say Kitaro is now switched places with Shigeru and Mizuki, someone who went to war, saw a bunch of shit. If he comes back home, he's gonna talk about that stuff, and it's sometimes better to not have that point of view be expressed to other people that haven't also experienced it, because they might not be inclined to want to just follow the rules or just follow the law per se, that just follow whatever is said to them, if that makes any sense. There's a chance that Shigeru Mizuki might speak still good about his times serving for his country, but then there's also a chance that Shigeru Mizuki is going to speak very bad things about his country, and once again that might cause commotion or problems. So it's sometimes just better for that potential problem to just be silenced for good. I always feel like I'm dancing around what I'm trying to say, and then I eventually finally can say it. I don't know if I even said it how I wanted to say it, but anyway. The scientist comes up with an idea of injecting the blood from that Zeugladon into Kitaro, and he was saying that if you give the wrong person, or if you give the wrong blood to a person, you can kill them, which is what he's trying to do to Kitaro. And once again, very dark shit, and that's. And once again, I believe this is supposed to be for kids, but it's just so, that's some very, very grim shit. Which made his skin eventually fall off, and now he's got even more monstrous hands. He's basically turning into the Zeugladon. Would it be inappropriate to call Kitaro the spirit of Japan? Because if so, he's turning into basically this monster. Well, they said to turn to the glossary on 394, and it said that he's hold on one second. There's one more page right there. Kaju Kitaro, which is the blood of the Zeugladon, did not turn Kitaro mortal, just into a brainless giant monster bent on destroying Tokyo. Which, kind of reminds me of the whole Godzilla thing, which, once again, Godzilla, I think, is supposed to represent a nuclear bomb. So it's like, what happens when you inject the blood of a Zeugladon, or, basically, I would say the blood of war into the spirit of Japan, and it causes, apparently, there's going to be, I have to read into it, but I guess, this form of Kitaro is going to be destroying parts of Tokyo. Also, this entire expedition was to get blood so that, to make humans immortal. But through getting this blood alone, human life was lost. So, there's still sacrifice that must be made in order to get to this form or this level of immortality. Basically saying whose life needs to be lost in order for this to happen. The salamandra dust could be a metaphor for scientists' willingness to deny things that cannot be explained. Conveniently, Kitaro shoots out this beam, and normally would probably kill all of these soldiers that are shooting at him, firing at him, but instead, I think just their equipment just gets, their equipment and their clothes turn really hairy. Shigeru is able to throw kind of like a 4D element. He's like, on TV or in a comic book, someone would have an easy solution, but this is real life. To clarify, that was just one of the officials saying that. But it is dialogue by Shigeru. Is it fourth dimension or is it fourth wall? Or is it the same thing? For this story, the scientist is going out of his way, just going so far out of his way just to try to remove the existence of Kitaro. Which, is kind of once again the metaphor of a Japanese official trying to remove, say, Shigeru Mizuki, who's just a soldier trying to return from war, might have some information, so it's just, going to any way, basically throwing everything, even the fucking kitchen sink, just trying to deny or the existence of, this person or this thing, that, it's, basically just trying to deny the truth. I really do think right now, how Kitaro is, as the Kaiju Kitaro, it seems so much so the perspective of how Shigeru Mizuki probably felt when he came back home to Japan. He says, I only came back to let him know I'm still alive. This is awful. He's referring to trying to talk to his dad, Madame Medema. I should say the scientist's name is Shuichi. And he's got a sister named Keiko. For the case of this story, Shuichi develops a giant monster or giant robot to fight Kitaro. Well, as Kaiju Kitaro. So the scientist, or Shuichi, he's thought about confessing that he let the monster get away because it was clutching his mother and sister in hand, but the fact that the two of them hadn't run away might be suspicious, might even lead to the discovery of the terrible things he had done in New Guinea. So once again, going back to that reference of, say a Japanese official trying to, bury everything, to hide things, until eventually, it's something that straight up bites themselves and bites their own ass, or affects people around them. So it's just kind of like, you don't know sometimes the consequences of your actions until, it's then affecting literally yourself, or, those around you that you're close to. It can be very hard to develop sympathy and empathy. Most people are just apathetic. The action of selfish deeds results in the death of a Japanese spirit, or death of the Japanese spirit. Instead of just saying Japanese spirit, selfishness or selfish deeds, whatever, can destroy the spirit. I just want to say once again that Shigeru Mizuki is really good at drawing monsters, but even beyond that, he's really talented at drawing. So for this story, Daruma, I think it's dealing more with that. Well, in this case, it's actually dealing with another dimension, or a fourth dimension, or this place that people don't know about, that they can't see, and that's where yokai live. That this one guy is explaining. So supernatural stuff for this storyline. It always has been supernatural, but this one I think is really kind of going knee deep in it, I guess, rather than kind of referring to realities. I think this is kind of, once again, ultra realities or whatever. I think the storyline for the Daruma, Daruma story, the message, it could be something as simple as just trying, there's just spirits invading this tower, and Kitaro must remove them. It could be just a quick supernatural story, or it could be stretching here. It could be just the yokai are just, I don't know if they're necessarily anyone particular, but it's just more along the lines of just these scary people, sharing a similar the same space as other, I guess, regular people, and the regular people are just scared of, I don't know, that might be a stretch there. And as for Castle Yokai, just that one seems to, these two, the last two stories, or last few stories anyway, seem to kind of be lighthearted, though still kind of grim in ways, because Castle Yokai is dealing with turning children into yokais themselves. So I imagine you gotta sacrifice them. It might have to do with the occult, maybe. But there's just some guesses, maybe some stretches. Could just be me being insensitive or offensive. I don't know. Maybe it's a combination of it all. Unlike the whole French vampire thing, with the whole Daruma, I don't, as far as I know, I'm not seeing any, it's not saying any specific country or race or whatever. The only other thing is, it's, some of the dialogue was saying, some of the neighbors or whatever, or villagers, whatever, they were saying that their cats were starting to go missing since more yokai were inhabiting that tower. It could simply be just supernatural storytelling. It seemed like Creature from the Deep was Shigeru Mizuki's cathartic moment, or cathartic storytelling. Probably pretty therapeutic for him. So the last story is Man in the Mirror, which deals with a perverted yokai that takes little young pretty girls and puts them in their mirrors, and they basically kind of just and you never see them again, essentially. So it's kind of just not, it's more than it's like a pedophile story, but a killing pedophile, a murdering pedophile, and Kitaro stops him. That's what I got from that. But that's it. Took me a couple hours. I'd say it took me about 5 hours. Minus this, and this is almost an hour and 30. So, 3.5 hours, I think. Right? Yeah. Not bad. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's definitely, when you fucking reread something, you're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. I think the only thing that really was the most familiar to me was seeing a lot of the artwork. My favorite story had to have probably been the game. I forgot what it was called. With the baseball. Oh, here we go. We're almost there. Which one was it called? Monster Night Game. Yeah, that's probably my favorite one, Monster Night Game. But you know, I don't think there's much more to say. I feel like I said everything. I can't wait to get onward towards our noble deaths. That's gonna be pretty cool. But thanks for listening. If you made it this far, take care. Have a good night, afternoon, morning, evening, dawn. Probably, fucking anytime, man. Take care. See you later.